Okay?
Yeah.
So if you would have another Nouveau brother in the debating circuit, we're pretty certain that we're going to be able to predict that the debating circuit is going to be better off by it. Note, sometimes we're individuals. However, sometimes we're the entire human race, and sometimes we're willing to make sacrifices of individuals for the entire human race. We know it because it is not only this mission of individuals that has been enabled us the capacity to put a man on the moon, as the last motion has suggested, and this is something that came up to mind. It's not individuals that were able to only alone by themselves were able to defeat forces of evil as the Nazis. It is the entire human race. Right now, we are facing great challenges that are on the same scale. Right now, unfortunately, as inherently to the best systems that we have in society, there is still poverty, there is still cancer. These are challenges on the same scale. These are challenges that put a calculus that is of the same magnitude of war, and we cannot get rid of it. By replicating some individuals, if we're able to promote, or even if you do not accept the premise that we're able that we're able to actually know for certain, even though I'm going to touch upon it in a second, but we're going to increase the chances that we're going to be able to eradicate challenges of the same level, we are going to be able to allow these policies. Because note, every policy that the government passes is going to screw someone over. If you're going to jail people for being thieves, we're going to screw someone over. Someone is going to be misidentified by these kinds of policies. We are willing to take these risks in order to do the utilitarian calculus in society. I'm going to engage with Salah says about it in a second. This is something which is inherent. We say that on the balance, if we're willing to do it for other challenges, if we're willing to conscript people in order to send them to war and actually sacrifice their life, and in the context of war, use them as tools for the state, we're willing to do the same in this case in order to have these challenges. Firstly, some clarity. So let's start with Rebuttal to Sir, right? He says that we're not able to know what happens. A, if we're able to know how genes interact with each other, to the extent that we're able to perfectly clone people, which is something that the motion assumes because otherwise it's too much of a burden, we probably know how to detect the genes that cause smartness. We probably know how to detect how genes interact with one another. We're probably able to detect and track the history of the extraordinary individuals that we clone and know what are the right circumstances. This is something that you, to a grave amount of certainty, is going to allow us to predict whether these individuals are going to do great. Even if you accept that you're not going to know it for certain, that Einstein is now going to replicate every challenge. Note, if you're going to know who Einstein was from his early childhood, we're going to provide him of a better environment probably. We're going to give him more of an access to the academia. We're going to try and replicate we're going to try and replicate the life of the other one, and actually he's going to now be able to not have to send us to the second golden year of physics, but rather to the second, the third, and the fourth golden years of physics. These are things that by their own discovery, right, his own discoveries, have changed utterly the entire human race to the extent that we now use these kinds of physics in order to solve things and in order to get more medication that have relieved millions of suffering. If we're going to have more people that know how to get discoveries like antibiotics, we're going to get way more of that through a way greater chance. But then he says, but we're going to get, this is something which is not okay because we never use human beings by entirety as a tool. Note, this is not a burden of government specifically in this debate. When I have a boss-worker relation to the boss, the worker himself right now at the status quo is only a tool in order to promote the company. However, by the mere fact that the employee has some free life, we're letting him to live his own life. We are not saying that every part of the 24-hour life cycle of the individual is going to be totally consumed for that. The vast majority, like every other individual who works in society, is going to be consumed for that. However, in the context of the work, we are going to consume it like every other worker. They are going to have some free time. Actually, they're likely to be better off than other individuals in society because they're going to be learned, because from their own early childhood, they're going to be known to be great. Obviously, by some comparative, they can feel shy of others. But as told, they're likely to be even greater than the one that we have replicated in the past. Thus, because Sela is obviously better than Omer, as everyone knows. But moreover, we say that in terms of classes that they say that it's probably going to create. Note, if you're going to now know how genes actually interact, you're going to now be able to do even more applications if you want to reconstruct society by people from lower classes right now. You only need one African American who has extraordinary genes, we can find them and replicate more of them if we want to correct them and change perceptions of racism and actually correct the current biases in society right now by these eugenics. If eugenics are actually going to lead us off to a better society, we're willing to do it. No, this is actually an extension of the status quo. How do we know it? Because we're perfectly fine with giving more welfare in order to promote people to achieve greatness. We're perfectly fine with doing things as detecting young, brilliant individuals and trying to promote them even at the expense of having them more stress in the day-to-day life from a young age. This is only a mere extension of current policies with a really cool cycle of things. First,
on your sort of crazy utilitarian logic, why would we ever give any doctors, any brilliant people, any weekends, holidays, or allow them to retire or change field?
Because firstly, they are still humans that are going to be more effective if we're going to give them these things. Secondly, if we're going to replicate more of them, we are willing to say that we're willing to give them vacations because it's not necessary to work them every bit of the day and still achieve the same things. It is a fine thing to do. And thirdly, you know what? We're willing to sacrifice the lives of some people in order to deal with parallel great challenges, so we're even willing to sacrifice these kinds of things in these things. Note, it is only the context that is actually the burden of differentiation in this debate, right? Because every time that in the context of war, I am a tool, in the context of a worker, I am an employee, give them some vacations and we work with them merely as a tool, so we do not accept that. Actually, the society, the day after it is going to be, as interrupted by James, is going to be way better off because of that, because we're going to be able to use these tools in order to promote the weaker parts of society right now, in order to create role models from weaker parts of society, and to say these are people that we know, in fact, that we should invest more resources in order to create it for others. Even if we're not going to do it to every single individual, it is still something that by the mere social construction of society is going to be better off. Note, in times of the Middle Ages, when we had the problem of individuals using force on one another, the state was perfectly fine with monopolizing power. In the future, in which society is getting more and more unequal, in which society is getting more and more, in which poverty is actually getting a bigger problem, in which more of the money is invested in other places, we say that by the same logic we should monopolize the gene pool and use it for the benefit of society as a whole and the state. It is, even if you don't accept it, it's going to necessarily lead to a better society. It is most probably going to lead to a better society. Most people who live these lives are going to have happier lives than the majority, and the poorer parts are going to be way better off. For the last time in this tournament, we beg you to propose.